What's good, people? I hope you're well. I hope you're swell. So, part three of the series. Now, a man approaches you on the street. You're a woman, and he says you look like a man. Do you take offense to that? If you do take offense to that, then, my friend, that is step one of being a Karen. You take personal injury and offense to words because you see validity in them. That's part one. Part two, you're walking down the street, you bump into someone, and that makes you angry. So you attack the person, you start shouting at them. That is step two of being a Karen. You are unreasonable. And now, my friend, now for part three. So, I told you in the first episode that if you are an overthinker, this series would be helpful for you. Now, let me tell you why. Your brain, your brain, my brain, all of our brains, we have something called the DMN. Now, the DMN is the default mode network. What does this do? This keeps you in a loop of thinking. So instead of acting, you're thinking. For instance, and this is a good analogy, a brief one, very, very brief one. Say you wake up in the morning and you're late for school. So you wake up late and then you're rushing to school. You brush your teeth quickly, you eat your breakfast quickly, you get your stuff, you get dressed, everything, you do everything you need to do, you get your bag on, you walk out the door. But as you're approaching the bus stop, you reach to sit down at the bus stop. And as you sit down, you blink and you're in bed. You had just imagined yourself getting ready for school and you really thought you were moving, but it was all a dream in your imagination. Now, my friend, that illusory reality with which you were inside of is the DMN, the default mode network, or rather, that the underlying mechanism with which convinced you that you were actually going to school is the exact same mechanism which is at play in the DMN. Now, the default mode network is the part of your brain which thinks, assumes, and identifies with things. So if you're walking down the street and a man calls you something out of character, by the way. So if they call you something out of character, you take offense to that because their narrative goes against your own narrative. And your narrative is so weak that their words takes you off, it hits you off your, what's it called, off kilter. So you get startled. What? You called me what? You called me a woman? You called me a what? So you get shocked and you react. That is the default. The DMN is what creates the character with which you get offended by. So the DMN has many other mechanisms and many other ways with which it affects our day-to-day life. As I showed you in the analogy, you can really and truly believe that you are doing something, but it's just an illusion. Why? Because it's based on an assumption. If you know anything about dreams, and I think some of you may do if you're familiar with this channel, a dream is essentially the seed of a dream is an emotion. The seed of a dream is an emotion. And what I mean by that, my friend, is every dream you have is rooted first in an emotion which grows and expands. And as you move through that emotion, as you move through the trauma, the stress, the happiness, the sadness in your mind, that movement is what creates the dream. So you're not dreaming, you're not creating the dream from scratch. A prerequisite emotion is in your mind, and once you feel that emotion, it becomes a dream. Now, that is just one aspect of dreams, how dreams work. Now, regarding the DMN and being a Karen, of course, as you know what this video series is about, I want you guys to think about thought. I want you to think about thought as a concept in itself. What does it mean to think about something? Now, stay with me because this is going to be the most important video in the entire series, the most beneficial to you in this entire series. So, what does it mean to have a thought? If you really think about it, a thought is just an assumption. It's a bias and an assumption in your mind that you, for instance, I'll give you a quick, for instance, right? So, say I'm walking down the street and I see someone and he has what I think is strange looking hair. Now, is his hair objectively strange, or is that just a thought in my head with which I am thinking and I am believing, and so I am acting in accordance of the belief? Now you'll find that everything we do in life, everything, there is not a single thing that doesn't fall into this. Everything we do in life is based on a prior belief and assumption. For instance, you woke up today because you believe that you need to go to work, you need to eat, and the truth or falsity of the statement is irrelevant, but what is important is the fact that it's a belief, right? So you woke up because you had a belief. Belief, my friend, is what moves us forward. Emotion is what moves us forward. As rational as we are and as rational as we try to be, it's emotion which is our engine which drives us forward in this life. Everything, every great man, woman, every great person on earth, they have been motivated by emotion. This is why during wartime, army vets, generals, lieutenants, soldiers, all of them, they often, back in the day, they would have a picture of their family which they would keep on them. And by looking at that image, it would incite an emotion of them to help them to continue the massacre with which they are about to do. Because remember, everything is rooted in emotion, and when it isn't rooted in emotion, we have to generate an emotion to compensate and make up for the lack of emotion with which we are moving. In other words, everything is rooted in emotion, and when it isn't, we have to create an emotion to keep moving forward. Now, how does this relate to being a Karen, my friend? You need to understand, if you've watched the first two videos, you already understand personal injury is what causes reactive behavior. You already understand that being unreasonable is rooted in trauma. But do you understand that every action we make, everything we do is based in assumption? It's based in our thoughts, our DMN, our default mode network, which creates the network of thoughts with which we call ourself, our ego, our identity. Now, if you really want to make someone angry, if you really want to get them mad, attack their identity. And if they aren't strong enough in their own identity and beliefs, they will get an injury from that. They will feel offended and they will react. Now, I made a video about how the elites control us. The elites know what I just explained about identity and assumption. They know all of this. So they control us by creating artificial narratives and constructs with which we identify with. For instance, if you are aware with the razor company, Gillette, they are advertising and creating the thought, the assumption that a masculine man uses their brand. If you're aware of some a girl's variation of that, I wouldn't know personally, but you can think of a certain makeup company, for instance. They associate femininity with their brand. They want you to do that. They want you to associate femininity with their brand. Now, how does all of this go into the point of Karens and how Karens are? How to be a Karen. So, if you want to be a Karen, my friend, believe something about your identity, yourself, but make sure that at at the slightest remark from anyone else, you take offense. You, I'll put it this way: believe so little in yourself that you take every comment on you as an insult. Take offense from everything. To summarize the point succinctly, to be a Karen, the third step, the third video, the third thing to do is to not believe in yourself. Now think about it. All of the greats in life, they had self-belief. They believed in themselves. They had a goal and they believed they could do it. Whether they did it or not was irrelevant. They believed they could do it, and they were convinced and convicted that they would spend the rest of their life pursuing that goal. Now, my friend, the number one thing you can do to be a Karen is to not have belief. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then anyone and everyone can determine who and what you are for you. They create the narrative with which you identify with and call your own identity. So, my friend, if you want to be a Karen, take offense to everything, be unreasonable, and have no self belief, Now, of course, I'm assuming you guys don't actually want to be a Karen, so those three things I need you to do the complete opposite. And by doing the complete opposite, you will reach the absolute pinnacle of success in life. Because think about it, belief really is the seed of creation. Everything you see all around you, every single thing comes from belief. And I want to tell you a secret. In reality, I don't know how many esoteric books you guys have read, but there is a saying which goes, as above, so below, as within, so without. Now, on the atomic level, there are many realizations and discoveries which have been found by scientists which demonstrate this principle to be true. If you look around at nature, you will see that, for instance, you'll look at a walnut, you will realize that a walnut is shaped very similar to a brain, right? Did you know that a walnut is one of the healthiest foods you can eat for your brain? Specifically because of the omega 6 fatty acids with which it gives to your brain. Did you know that tomatoes, a red fruit, is very good for your blood? As you'll find in nature and in reality, as within, so without, as above, so below, everything is a fractal, my friend. And the more you know about yourself, the more you can know about reality. And the more you know about reality, the more you can know about how existence operates and everything, all of the deep questions that everyone has that nobody seems to know the answer to. You can know all of this through self inspection and reflection, my friend. So, just to summarize the video, self belief, to not have self belief is to be a Karen because you are easily influenced, and a man or woman who is easily influenced is due for decay. They can't move in a straight line because they need someone to tell them where the next step is. So, my friends, that is how to be a Karen. I hope you found this series helpful. Of course, all the videos on this channel are about psychological mindsets to help you move forward in life. And if you want me to go deeper into any of these, comment down below, let me know. If you found this helpful at all, let me know. I appreciate all the comments, likes, I read everything, of course. And yeah, see you in the next video.